We
Episode
live. We back up.
6.
We back up in this thing, man.
The
Uh
consistency has been great.
Episode 6?
Yeah, 6.
Crazy. I turned from 6 to 23 like I'm LeBron. Maybe I gotta wait till we get to 23 before I can drop that Drake
Yeah,
line.
due time.
In due time. But welcome back to the Like a Brother podcast.
Damn.
This is my brother Josh,
It's my brother Anwar.
aka it's your boy Wheezy
And
and
the
the Wizard.
Wizard.
We live from my mom's basement, man, and we back with episode 6. This is crazy.
Yeah, man, we have been dialing this thing in. Y'all have been great. We appreciate all the feedback as we continue to grow this thing out. And one of the things that we've been working on and trying to iterate is just kind of getting, more streamlined with our topics because I know we cover a lot. Today is a hotter one as I've been getting some feelers out there and asking people. So today we're going to be talking about how to know if she's the one or not. That'll be today's topic. Yeah, it's gonna get hot. There's a couple of things that we'll be talking about, just like our general definitions and explanations. I know I'm getting ready to get married. We're still out there, so we got some different perspectives on what this will look like. Common signs that you can look for. I guess this is for the fellas, but for the ladies too. Like, we love y'all in the comments. Drop your stuff too to figure out what y'all are looking for in a guy. But I think this will be cool and kind of insightful as we talk about different things, red flags, green flags, all that type of stuff. So I guess for you, man, like, how do you define if she's the one or not?
You know what, man? It's actually something that I've thought about a lot. I think for me, the number one thing is compatibility when it comes to figuring out if somebody's the one. For me personally, and I think we're missing a lot of that. When I watch like dating conversations and I like scroll through TikTok and see different things, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's a huge craze for a 6'8" dude, and then on the guy's side, they be talking about, you know what I'm saying, what do you bring to the table and all this kind of stuff. And I think we're missing the point. So when I'm defining or trying to figure out if somebody's the one, it's a very individual and specific answer.
Yeah.
And it's based off of me having enough self-awareness to know what environment brings out the best in me.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right.
Once you have that self-knowledge of what environment brings out the best in you, then I think the one is someone who embodies that environment. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it really comes down to genuine compatibility. And these are the things that I'm really great at. These are the things I'm not so good at. These are the things that make me feel a lot more comfortable to be vulnerable and open and expressive.
Yeah.
And I grow in these situations. And these are environments that actually make me like clam up, or I don't see the best version of myself in those type of environments.
Okay.
And so that's what I would say is like what I look for and how I define like
The one.
the one.
I guess it's my turn and she's watching.
She is watching. Go ahead, bro. I'm
man.
curious from your perspective for
I got
sure.
locked down.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think because we're on such a similar frequency, I'm echoing the same things. I really look for two major things. One is going to be growth, right? And with that, there's all these subcategories of growth. But for me, I needed to have a firm understanding if she's going to be supporting and conducive to my growth. And then two, I think a lot of guys are concerned with, because you see a lot of jargon that's like, oh yeah, don't get married until you have all your stuff together. But that's not always the case for people, number one. And it wasn't the case for us. We got together in college. We both didn't have our stuff together. And in the process of her like pursuing her degree and figuring that out, getting together senior year and then trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do next? Because neither of us were looking for a thing. And so we had to do a lot of growing up in our communication really quickly. And so the growth in that, I think a lot of guys are worried about, is she going to stop me from doing what I need to do or what I want to do? And for me, I don't have that. I love the fact that Deja supports like what I've got going on. She brings some realness to it too, because as a visionary, my head can be in the clouds and she can be my gravity in the sense like, okay, we can do this, but here's what it looks like. And so I think that I feel still as able and as capable as I am. So I think the main thing that I look for is like, are you adding or are you taking away? Number one, adding or subtracting from where I'm trying to get to. And then two, on a personal flip for me, am I really willing to sacrifice for you? That's like another thing. Am I really willing to sacrifice for you? And with her, there were things that I wanted to do and have, done, but now I'm more so aware of looking at like that whole unit thing and having to make decisions based off of being a unit. And so for me, being who I was and all the things that I wanted to achieve and all the ambition I had to really check and see, am I willing to make sacrifices in my plans for this person? And for me, I got to really value the person to be able to do that, right? And sacrifice doesn't always mean giving up. Sacrifice just means changing sometimes, looking and flipping your vision a little bit and seeing how that can work out because I love you to this degree that I want to include you in what I've got going on. And so for me, that was another thing that I noted that I'm like, oh, I'm willing to, in this little stuff, like, oh, I won't do this today. I'm gonna go hang out with her. And that's kind of how it starts and it grows, and that's the seed of it. But then as time goes, then we start making bigger adjustments, and then we talk about like living arrangements and where our family's gonna be. And once again, not am I just doing the sacrificing, is she sacrificing for me? Which she's done plenty. She's moved away from her family. They're 4 hours away. She went to school up here in Valpo to be closer to me in Illinois. But that was a whole conversation that we had to have. So that growth aspect, I think, is key, just to wrap it up, like making sure that is she adding or subtracting? And if she is, that's great. And then two, that sacrifice element. Are we willing to sacrifice for each other? And then as a man, am I willing to adjust and make compromises for, that person? I think those are like my two biggest right now.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's huge. And so, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I definitely think it echoes. I think, again, as someone who's still searching, right? Yeah. And I'm always like, I'm chronically on the internet, and I just feel like, bro, there is so much talk out there.
For sure.
I think the number one thing that's lacking in dating right now is self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I think self-awareness is how you get to true compatibility.
That's true.
Right? Because you just got to understand
who you are.
Where are your shortcomings,
exactly.
What things are you really great at, and then what makes a great partnership for you specifically.
Exactly.
And then once you figure that out, go out and look for those things. But if you don't have that self-awareness,
you can't.
You're gonna get nowhere real fast.
I agree.
And I feel like a lot of people are just lack genuine compatibility and then wonder why
it didn't work out.
You know what I'm saying?
Went into it knowing it was missing. And that's a thing too, is like getting that, like listen to that spirit that's like, hey, we're not on track with what we need to be doing right now. It feels a little bit off, and make that adjustment. And that comes down to two routes. Like, do I sacrifice again because I see potential in the person, or do I have to put myself first in the situation? And you have to look at your inventory and track record and be like, based on past experiences, have I always ended up, being in this situation? I had a great quote at work this week, is like, whatever you're doing right now is the exact play that you need to run to be where you're at right now. Like whatever you're doing right now, you should be feeling exactly how you are based on all the things that you're doing, because that's your makeup. And so it's like, do I need to change my makeup, or do I see the potential and I'm willing to hedge my bet on this person because I love them? That's a whole nother thing too.
Right.
And then speaking of like more detailed stuff, like we're talking about like signs, what do you feel like some other signs or like quick indicators that she is the one?
Well, I thought you made a good point when you just talked about like willing to compromise. You know what I'm saying? That's such a big one.
It's a huge one, man.
And I'm not gonna quote Drake this episode. I could right now, but I'm not gonna do it. But what I will say is definitely for sure right away. I think for me, noticing busy schedule, I'm quite uncompromising when it comes to dreams and aspirations. I'm extremely ambitious.
For sure.
I have really lofty goals.
Yeah.
And I quite literally manufactured the way that my life is.
To go ahead and get those
right
goals.
now, to go ahead and get those. So when I notice that I actually become so giving with my time, I think I'm gonna say some real shit. I think a lot of women, and I know some of it is just funny for TikTok, but I think there's some underlining truth to it. It's like, oh, he got to buy you that Birkin. He got to do this. He got to do that. When you're dealing with a certain caliber of man, you know what I'm saying? I'll be honest. Spending some bread, like money is
as a standard.
Because I think I'm at a place, and I think you know, people who are very ambitious and get the chance to, you know what I'm saying, be in certain environments and meet people who are getting to certain places. I really truly do see money as a resource. Yeah. It's not the end all be all. For sure. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely a like pit stop, not a destination.
No, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's quite literally a resource. The things that I'm really valuing is my time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My time and like genuine, authentic energy. Yeah. And I think to just be like, oh, here, like somebody's love language could definitely be receiving gifts and stuff like that. But it's I think the energy and the thought and the thought, right? That's
what people mean when they say
that's what you should be wanting behind it. Yeah. To just go and swipe a card and throw something your way
for the sake of doing the action of it is like,
you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think you know, for me, when with my schedule and my busyness and my investment and just pure drive for some of the things that I want to create for myself, when I see myself carving out time and energy for a person, I'm like, woo, yeah, this is getting scary.
Ladies, look out.
This is getting scary. But some bread, like I could, like I'm such a generous. I be giving bread to. We not gonna. Y'all watch the first episode. I had a whole. I went in depth and I give a lot. That ain't really like, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's a default.
If I'm taking time and energy to really pour into somebody, when it's coming from something. I'm taking it away from other things that I'm doing.
Right, because it's got to go somewhere.
You know what I'm saying? So, that's a very big sign that like, oh snap.
Yeah, I think
I like her.
For me, another thing that I always looked for was like that. It goes hand in hand. I think communication and emotional intelligence are very like two things, and that's under the umbrella of awareness. And I will say like the accountability that I have in my relationship is also something that I look for that goes into those other areas. Because I think as guys, you got a different scenario because you grew up and you're the predominant factor in the household was the ladies. Yeah, your mom, your two sisters versus me. It's my dad, my brother, me, and my mom. Right. And so I grew up around a lot of male energy. And so that emotional intelligence wasn't always as high. Yeah. I feel like women have a more natural proclivity to be around each other and be in that feeling space. Yeah. It's hard for guys, ladies. Like, it's hard for us to get into that bag and be that with you. So one, have patience. But for me, the accountability to help me be better was something I got. But the accountability to help me communicate was another big thing. Because as we talk about ambition, as we talk about goals, all those different things, it's such an individualistic route. 1,000%. But with that individualism also comes compartmentalization of a lot of stuff. Because you got all these ideas that you're not really sharing because social media dictates that a man is really like valued. Not even social media, but society as a whole. Like our construct is our utility. That's the value we bring. What can you do for me? Like that's the whole thing. And so when you're there or you're building towards it and you may not be there, there's a lot that you can kind of hold in because there's this perfectionism that takes place. Like I got to have the finished thing before I show the class because I don't want to get laughed at or I don't want to be viewed less than. But I had to really break out of that with my communication, and dating and now getting ready to marry a therapist has helped, and she always kind of had therapeutic tendencies. Deja was actually studying like law before.
I don't think I knew that.
Be a therapist.
I didn't know that.
It was legal studies. That's what she was into, and was going to be. But flipped it. But within that, there was communication that she had to get out of me to say, "Hey, I need to know what's going on." versus, you know, with my homies, you probably won't know what's going on with your homies. That's why we have the whole check on your bro
Right.
thing. That has to be so top of mind. You see how that's like a thing we have to do? It's an exercise or muscle we got to stretch. For them, hey girl, what's going on? Oh, this is it. And they just into it. Oh, I can't believe he did that to you. That's why they get into those conversations so quickly, because they're more inclined to do that. But for us, it wasn't a strong suit. And so I needed those two things. I needed that accountability, but I also needed that emotional intelligence and that communication. And I guess that all just is underlined by the big thing, which is like being aware, being self-aware, like we're talking about, and understanding where you fit in. And then once you understand where you fit into the puzzle, you can look at what other pieces we're trying to add to it. So I think those are like the two like big signs for me, man. Overall awareness, but it also gets to like that emotional intelligence. I'm not arguing like I'm not arguing, bro. I'm not raising my voice. Like,
oh my gosh,
I'm calming down. That's not a normal thing.
Thank you.
There's healthy ways to communicate, and yelling does not mean you're right. Just so everybody's aware. Like, that's a thing.
I got something for you. My question to you, since we're talking about signs to know if she's the one, is it true that men just know right away from the beginning? Men just know, or does it take time? Does that grow? That this as soon as you meet her, it's like, oh, that's my wife, or does that thought grow over? I'm just very curious.
Yeah,
I think it's very individualistic, but from your perspective, you know what I'm saying? What would you say is like the thing with that?
That's a good question. I think that it also is an individual experience that you have to have. But I do think going into something, you gather data pretty quickly on those next steps that I'm taking with this person. Like you go and if you had that bad Tinder date, you know, like, oh, I'm not going to see this person again off bat. And so when you have like time, my environment was different because it was college. So we got class together.
Yeah.
I was in an environment like where relationships could happen. Once again, wasn't looking for anything, but it just kind of organically happened. And so I think that's the thing that you got to look for is like that organic kind of chemistry that you guys have. And then looking at, am I placing my bet? Am I investing in that more and more? And then at a point, you have that conversation like, oh, yeah, I like you. Oh, I like you.
Yeah.
But when it gets to I love you, I think that's the first thing that we were talking about, like that sacrifice part. For me, when you start as a guy, when you say I want to change my situation for you, I definitely think that that's getting into the one territory. Because once again, we're very like, I think selfish creatures in terms of ambition as men. And we're always on that go, go, go. And so when I start adjusting my life for you, that means that, yeah, you definitely are the one, and I'm moving you as a priority amongst the other things that I have going on. And so that was my experience, man. Like I said, I cut some things off before I went back to school. I found something amazing. And then for me, I knew when I got something good, I'm gonna capitalize on it. Yes. Like that's just me. Like I don't really play with that. You
always been like that.
When I see something that I deem as good,
you always been like that.
Based on what I've got, like my little checklist, I'm gonna go in, and then you don't know what that could turn into. And so I would say, fellas, like stop hesitating at the same time too. What do you think about like guys hesitating, making that move? Because I feel like it's such a norm for people to like have no titles, or everybody's like scared of a title, or even like saying like, oh, I like you, or oh, I want to be committed. Like what do you think that is, or where do you think it comes from?
Man, it's tough, bro.
You in that boat.
It's tough. It's tough, bro. You know, I'm on my Mike Lowry. You know what I'm saying? Look, man. It's definitely tough. I don't think it's a commitment issue thing too. I think people love to throw like, oh, guys have commitment issues. This, that, and the third. I was speaking for myself. Like I really like the idea of marriage.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of partnership. I think call me, you know what I'm saying, drinking the Disney Kool-Aid, but like the true love thing and everything like that is it's just very, it's a vibe to me. I think that's a really cute narrative, and I would like to be a part of that. So I don't have no issues with like marriage, monogamy. I know like a lot of people think these guys is out here, you know what I'm saying?
Rosters all day.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's not necessarily the case for me, and I don't think it's as prevalent as
we think.
Maybe social media.
Maybe it's just a louder minority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think is the case with it's a lot of loud and
it's a lot of loud stuff out here.
There's a lot of loud people out here that don't necessarily represent the majority, in my opinion, especially when it comes to men. But I will say I think that there's some hesitancy with committing because I think I'll say for me it's just like
hot seat.
Yeah, hot seat. Nah, for real. I think for me there's hesitancy because I think I know what I'm looking for.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if you've never experienced it before, you don't really know what you're looking for. So it is a little bit of a
like theory versus practice.
You know what I wouldn't say I'm particularly a gambling man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really just throwing my coins any which way.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm watching the table and seeing it. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's this hesitancy because if you never really experienced it before, you don't really have a great ability to just be like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can have an inclination for sure. I've definitely been in situations where I'm like, oh, I could see pretty far out.
Yeah.
I can see pretty far out.
Yeah.
I've had that happen instantly, and then it was only 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel that.
And there's been other situations where maybe it started off as like a friendship and then it grew into something. And then I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I never saw that coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked you that question because I was like, I do think it's very individualistic. And I don't think it's... Yeah. I think every relationship is...
That's the thing too, man.
It's different.
And to add to that, like, I think a common misconception that people think... and maybe I was just weird growing up, but even like in school, like when I got to college, the word liking somebody, like I didn't put too much weight on that. Like, you know, if I like somebody and I let them know that, for me, that's not like a binding contract. I feel like, and now I feel relationships carry so much more weight, or at least from a social media standpoint.
Yeah.
They carry so much weight in the sense of you put a tie on me, so we bound. Like even the dating thing is like I'm dating around. Are we dating? Like I don't feel like that's a title or a restrictive thing.
For sure.
I feel like it's a necessary part of the journey, and as long as you're communicative about it in the beginning and saying I'm dating or I'm dating around. Dating in itself is a process. Yeah. It's not a title. Like if I'm dating, that means I'm figuring out and I'm discovering insert with name. Like that's what it is in my opinion. But I don't feel like dating as a whole is a thing to just like totally take you out the picture of the market.
Well, here's the other thing I'll say that I think leads to hesitancy. For me, to your point, I think people put a lot onto the titles, and I think people also are impacted very heavily by these relationships. Yeah. And so I know advice that I've given to some of my homegirls is like the ability to love is a beautiful thing, and don't let someone take that away from you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that you go through a bad situation, and then now it's like, oh wow, I almost lost everything through that.
Yeah.
I'm not going back.
Yeah.
I'm not going back to that. So now you can't be you could be a sneaky link. We could talk. We could you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can't even get back into that situation with somebody because that took everything out of me. Whereas I really like, and I don't know, every situation is different. People have different attachment styles, and you just kind of get in deep with people, and shit be real.
Yeah.
But I would say that process of falling in love and loving somebody and caring for somebody is like a really beautiful process. And don't let a shitty person prevent you from
having that experience
again. I say one as a guy being on like the other side of that, it's just a really hard position when you're paying for somebody else's crimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm just a dude
that's the thing, and that's real.
Is interested in you, and I would like to get to know you better, but you know, Johnny boy over there, blew the bridge up, and now can't nobody, come across and pull you for a chat.
Yeah,
so
man.
I love it on people. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's like one side of it, and then on the other side of it is just like, damn, you that situation is holding you back from so many other situations you can have. So I think that, like, for me, how I'd go about it, because I have been in situations that maybe I wanted to continue longer, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just it's hard to do, but a constant state of gratitude.
Yeah.
Really helps me through any kind of, right? And to be like, you know what? I learned a lot about myself.
Exactly, man.
Like this didn't go out the way but wow, I gained so much information about me.
Yeah.
I gained so much information about the world. I gave so much, like, you know what I'm saying?
All those
and I think all those things are like positive things I could take away from.
And that's okay to realize, man.
Yeah.
Making those mistakes in the past, I always say, is the tuition that we pay to make better decisions in the future. Like, our past mistakes aren't really, like we said, it's not an L unless you sell.
Yeah.
And so it's all about a perspective shift. And I think, guys, we can tend to pay the price coming into certain things.
Yeah.
I think having an awareness as a man, like, that's another key too. And then ladies, the same flip, like, guys, we go through that as well. Like, there's trust issues that have been broken. And for us, it may look a little bit more like avoidant behavior from us, because I feel like we can do that by distancing or not trying to be as close because we don't want to get there, and ladies too. And so for everybody, I think realizing that those mistakes are the tuition that you pay to make better decisions in the future is the key here. Like, don't let that prevent you from getting back out there or trying something again just because it didn't work out. Because, like, even a rocket got to go through tests before we get up in space. The first one isn't going to just go. And so I think viewing the whole dating thing, once again, as a process of getting to know is the key. Like, it's a process, and not like I said, it's a process, but it's not the product. The product is the relationship and how that grows and moves forward. But don't feel like, oh, I had a bad date or I had a bad relationship. And I know it's easier said than done because time also takes time. But I think the end goal should always be to get yourself back out there, man.
For sure. And so, like, I have a lot of homegirls. As you pointed out, I'm growing up, in a female-dominated household, which is very different than a lot of my homeboys, which I realize, to go on a slight tangent, I realize sometimes when I'm, like, not as connected with, you know what I'm saying, guys, I like, you know what I'm saying, we go Vlog, Kari, Prince, you, Jay Bry, brothers, like, you know what I'm saying? And then even to go Ty, he has a little sister.
Yeah.
I think it's a big difference between having, you're the big bro and you got a little sis.
Yeah.
And you have an older sister.
Yeah.
I think the dynamic and how that kind of shifts your perspective on women and different things like that is very different.
For sure.
But I will say all that to now bring it back. I have a lot of homegirls. I think it is partly my comfort zone to be around women, you know what I'm saying, and having conversation and hanging out and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because I always, like, that's my sisters are my best friends.
Yeah.
Like, we hang out all the time. So that's the norm. But I would say, like, my number one dating advice that I give to my homegirls is 100%, bro. You can't let someone take away your ability to love. Like, and what I also say with that is, if Beyonce out here getting cheated on, you know what I'm saying? I can't look and be like, oh, he seems like a nice guy. He comes from like, the way these dudes be moving and the stories that I be hearing, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
It's a risk. It's part of the journey.
Yeah.
My mother loves to tell my sisters, sometimes you got to kiss a few frogs.
That's just
you know what I'm saying?
That's just
my mama loves to say that. And so what I would say is, right, don't let somebody take your ability and the joy that is going through the process of learning, loving, and and growing, right?
Yeah.
Don't let somebody take that away from you, because I've seen like the flip side of it is when you ignore those red flags and you don't get out of the gym quick and you stay and you stay and you stay, it's like you're gonna go 2-year on and off relationship, 2-year recovery period, 1-year rebound situation, like you know what I'm saying, and I'm like, dang,
like that's such a bigger hit.
That was 4 years. And the thing about when you're in a situation like that and you really not like right, you know what I'm saying, that's taken away from you, like your health, your fitness, your self-care, your it just really takes you out of the game, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, girl, it's a really dope thing to be able to learn somebody new and do all that. Like, if you can get to a mindset to where you can approach it with some gratitude, where you can approach it with like, hey, this was like, I learned a lot about me. Like, I can take that away from it. I know what I don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what Pops is always saying.
I know what I don't like now.
Sometimes you learn what to not like and what I don't like about this. And that goes for not just relationship, your job, like career, family dynamics, all those different things. And so it's a constant like learning process, I think, that you're getting at, because the alternative, like, I know Monty loves Love Is Blind.
Yes, she does.
And there was a big breakup this past season. If you know, you know, but essentially this guy was all head over heels for the girl, but he had a previous marriage. And it didn't work out. And so he came on the show.
So he's divorced.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Very young though, like maybe like 25 got divorced.
Oh, wow.
And so he's older now. He gets with this girl, I'll say the name, Marissa. She was great, man. I felt so bad because he destroyed her by making the decision
destroyed her. Oh, shit.
To not move forward 4 days before the wedding. So he didn't even get, because the big thing when the show first came out was like they get to the altar and they say yes or no. The norm now is like a lot more copping out before the relationship gets to the wedding. Like that last week, I would say is the most
they like
crucial.
think they like, I'm gonna do you a favor.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna embarrass you on this altar.
But he still did, because you know the cameras, you're not escaping
it's
that.
It's still bad, yeah.
But they had this whole thing, and they had these little hiccups throughout the whole thing when we're talking about that awareness and going into that. And then he ultimately decided that her energy was too much, because he was a lot more chill, and that was a dig too, because you're essentially taking a stab at that person's personality.
You could take that as a personal attack.
And she's more bubbly and lively, but once again, in her mind, she was checking all those things, and she had that sacrifice. She's like, we talked about this. Like, I'm cool with going and getting my headphones and going in the room and watching my YouTube. I know that I don't have to, we can work on it, but you could see that they were just unequally yoked in that situation where she was willing to do the things and he wasn't.
Yeah.
But I think that from that past relationship too, because what ended up causing the split was because he had started talking to family, friends, and getting all these other opinions. And you getting married, you already just all over the place. Yeah. Like when I proposed, me and Deja talk about it to this day, blackout. Like blackout. The emotional moment was so intense. Like, had we not got it on video, I would not have remembered anything. And then she didn't remember anything. And so when you're getting to that stage of like getting to that commitment to the altar now, I imagine like that's times 10 as far as your decision-making process is going. You're either leaning into the surety or you're all like, what could go wrong? And I feel like both are natural, but you ultimately are the one that makes the decision to overcome it. But I say all that to say that because he let that past relationship prevent him from having the ability to love like we're talking about, the alternative is that you move and you live in fear. Like that's it. And so because he let his creeping thoughts and doubts, it wasn't even more so about her energy. That was the scapegoat. But it was more of an internal issue of like, do I want to walk the plank again? Am I going to hurt her again for past mistakes that I made? Yeah. Like he was so much in his head And sometimes you got to gracefully bow out, I think, for the health of the relationship and the person.
Yeah.
If it ultimately makes sense, then do that. But I also feel like leaning in with that gratitude and saying, what did I learn? And trying to lean from that experimental type of mindset as far as making yourself better over time. I feel like that puts you in a position to heal a lot quicker. And I think that's what we're getting to.
When
you can heal a lot quicker.
When you spin it positively, that recovery period is way
a lot
faster.
Shorter.
And when you spin it positively, the hit, it's not really, it doesn't destroy you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Which I know is, I'm making it sound like it's
easier
easy.
said than done.
Yeah, I know
it's still
not
gonna hit.
I know it's not an easy thing,
but you can start processing. Instead of like this taking you 6 months, we can cut it down to like 2.
You know what I'm saying?
And kind of like go from there.
And I think to keep it cute, like to my mom, like sometimes you got to kiss a few frogs.
You got to.
It's like this cute Disney spin on this thing that we're talking about, but like that's just kind of
it's the process.
That it's like accepting that this is a process. That's
really all it is.
And
like
it's not just what I'm saying. Which I know it's tough, and I be seeing all the memes and stuff. It's like I'm ready for my husband. I'm ready for my husband. Where my husband? Like the next man need to be my husband. Like I see all that all the time. So I know it's like with that mindset, that's definitely not, oh, I might have to kiss a few frogs to get there. That's this next one. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like you might set yourself up for.
Well, yeah.
Like it might hurt a little bit more if that's your mindset rather than if you had the I gotta kiss a few frogs.
Because everything is a process, and I think I love my future in-laws relationship because it gives me different perspective because it's so anti like social media as far as what it's supposed to look like because we're pushing like once again not processed but finished products like. I want to come in and I want my house, like even people getting their first apartments, like I want my apartment fully furnished with working fridge and LED lights and da-da-da. And it's a process. And I feel like our generation has gotten more of like this microwave mentality.
For sure.
And we don't really emphasize the beauty in delayed gratification. So to bring it back to them, they're high school sweethearts. And then they go on this journey of finding each other all throughout life, and they're still like on that journey together. But it was so cool to see them and even mentor us uniquely because I think my parents mentor too from a perspective of being older and being more serious as far as when they got together. The timing of that looked different, but to grow with each other from Deja and I've been together since 21. I'm 27 now, bro.
Yeah,
and so they could really shine that. What do those kids need to be doing as they're growing into adulthood and how that looks and letting you know that it's okay. Their big thing is letting you know it's okay to not have everything together. Because they're a testament now and they live great now. They got a beautiful home, like all these different things. But I feel like they're so much more advocates of the process. And for us looking in, every dude we see, what do you see? The automated blinds go up on the high rise. It's a white bed with the wood floors, the big desk with the dual monitors. Let me check my $10,000 investment that I made last night and flipped into it. And I feel like that clouds judgment for guys. I think it sets false expectations for women. And it makes us move out of fear, bro. Instead of, like we say, instead of leading with love, you're moving out of fear. And I feel like that whole tutelage that they've given us has really helped me accept a lot of things about my journey and understand that time takes time and that's okay. Yeah. Like the proudest moment that I've had is really coming to myself and understanding like, it's okay not to be there. And I know Gary Vee preaches that a lot. Yeah. But it's one thing to like hear an influencer say it, but then also see a real life example in your backyard that now you got to grow to this. But that's okay. And there's different stages to grow into stuff, man. Yeah. I think that's a huge piece that you can take. It's okay not to have it all together because realistically you're not. And there's unforeseen challenges too that can blow all your plans out the water, bro. Yeah. So
the other thing that I want to ask you before we move on is if you could give some brotherly advice to some of the guys watching, what's your thoughts on being college sweethearts and dating in college? Because being in my 20s, she got friends in her 20s. I'm sure they telling her stories. Obviously, I'll be telling you stories. Yeah, it's a little hard out here, and maybe I overlooked the college days. As actually maybe a really good time to to find somebody, or maybe it's a little more situational. Like, I don't know, but what's some brotherly advice you would give to somebody about, you know, college sweethearts or just timing of dating?
Yeah, I feel like college in itself is a great opportunity socially. Like, you're never going to be in an environment where you're this close to this many people, all moving ideally towards one goal, which is to graduate, get their degree. And so within that, you have this time to build all these types of relationships, not just romantic, but personal, professional, all these different things. And so when it comes to like the college sweetheart thing, I guess like it's something that you grow into. Once again, it's a process, because it gives you a unique opportunity. I feel like the best thing about college is that you get more at-bats. That's the whole thing that college provides you. It's the quickest way to get as many at-bats as you can.
In person.
Yeah. Not through Tinder, not all this. Like, in person and through Tinder too. Like, if some of y'all freaks.
This how I know he out the game, because he talking about Tinder.
Exactly.
Where everybody
Bumble,
else on Hinge.
all this stuff. But when we were in there, It was the Tinder joints.
You've been out the game for a while. Nobody be on Tinder.
I'm retired, happily. Whatever y'all be. I say whatever the kids use today.
Oh, that's crazy.
But all these different things are at your disposal. But I feel like with the dating apps, and the reason why it makes things a bit difficult is because everybody's posing their ideal self. Like, you gotta be 6-pack Lamborghini to be and have your pick, if you will. But on college, it's more of an even playing field in terms of what life is giving you all at the moment, expectation wise. Because I'm not expecting to bump into those what 6-figure earner freshman do you know? Like, you're not coming in there. You're coming in at your lowest level. Yeah. And so I think that the thing with college is, like, one, you have to understand, like, am I willing to like go through the evolution with this person? Yeah. And that's a huge discussion to have, because people change. Like, Deja and I weren't the same people that we were when we came in as freshmen.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. Not to cut you off, but like, that was going to be my one thing, because I agree with you, especially 10 years ago, the work from home thing was not what it is now.
Right.
So now that working from home is so prevalent, it's even harder to like meet people, which is why, you know, all these run clubs, they're trying to do all these things, which I think are really good things.
Yeah.
But because it's so difficult to meet people in your 20s with working from home and coming out of COVID, right, how it's kind of impacted, I think that now, if I could go reverse, it's probably the best time maybe in your younger years to meet somebody in a formal relationship could actually be college. So maybe be a little bit more intentional with your time while you're there.
Say that.
But what I would say is my one worry is, speaking for myself, having that self-awareness, something that I know about myself is that Anwar at about to be 27 and Anwar at 47, I am anticipating to be two very different people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And honestly, thinking about it, me at 18, 19, 20, whatever, 21, and me at 27, I think is definitely a much different person. I think I'm still that same little kid though. Yeah. But I there's definitely some differences. And so like like I said, I love the idea of marriage. I love the idea of commitment and just like me and my partner, and we going and we building this, and it's like I really love the idea of that, but I think one of the worries is definitely like growing with somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Knowing and anticipating that I might grow, like I could really stretch out as a person and be like a really different type of dude. You know what I'm saying?
I think what you have to remember is that that's always going to be the case.
Facts.
Like it's never going to stop. Even within your marriage, like you're going to become and change as you grow. That's the whole point of life, is to grow and develop. And so when you're looking at a college relationship, it's still definitely it's one of the easiest, I feel like, actually, to determine if like this is the one or not. Because there's going to be so much that goes on, from distractions to other relationships to extracurriculars. And then the big thing is graduation. That is the big thing. And so I'm blessed. Like I had a diamond in the rough situation where I got with Deja's senior year. We had both, just come out of something. Weren't looking. This wasn't a thing where I was DMing her over the summer and plotting. And I was having conversations with you, and I was, getting ready to get my future on. Like that was the whole thing. But it just didn't end up working out. One, because I don't like to be stressing that way when we talk about ambition, and I think partnership is the greatest way especially when you're like developing and you got the right person to get you focused and ambitious, because one, you've got her as a motivator to like, I got to get my stuff done in effort to like get to my goal. That's added fuel to my fire. But then two, I can't do the roster in and out drama because there's so much time that you're spending there. And I think, guys, if you added up the times that you spent arguing with a lot of shorties and going back and forth, like you could actually have like a whole company. But that's another thing. So that was never really like my forte. One, but then two, when you graduate, that's like the real kind of launching pad to determine if I'm going to do life with this person or not. Because you go through the mini one where you've got the high school relationship going to college. That's the first hurdle. But I feel like college is the even bigger kind of launching pad, because it's like you're out in the fray, like you out in the world. There's career now. There's so many new things that you're taking on from an educational and academic standpoint that was contained and you were shielded from. Even high school to colleges, the main thing high school sweethearts are worried about, are they going to find somebody else? Yeah. But when you get out of college, now it's like, is career going to separate? What if we've been going strong for 3 years since like our sophomore year, and now all of a sudden, oh, she's getting a job in Denver and I just got my application back in Chicago. How do we work that out?
Right.
And you have to start making those decisions. I feel like COVID was probably like the best way to determine if you were going to be in a relationship with somebody or not. That was another situation where I think Deja and I's relationship is like mutated in the sense where it was like tested so early on, from like personal things to different interrelationships, like that was a thing. And then also environmental factors like this disease. Can y'all really live with each other? Like that was a whole thing. And I had like packed my stuff up and got to her dorm because we just didn't want to keep doing the back and forth thing. And we sat from like March to May in each other's presence. And that was like the quickest crucible of our relationship to determine like, man, I really got to see how she lives. She got like plates and stuff everywhere. She want to put up all the time.
Right,
we come into the Alpha crib, it's chicken wings on the floor. Like that's just what it was. And so I think that was the thing that really microwaved our timeline as far as like decided, am I going to grow up quick or not?
Yeah.
Like that was it. So I would say the tangible advice for being in college and dating is utilize your time, kiss those frogs, find out what you do and you don't like, and have clear communication early on. Like I'm a big advocate for that. And you remember that message I crafted and I sent to you before I got with Deja, and there's that long ass paragraph about where you are and I'm an entrepreneur and I do this and I want you to know. But it was necessary for her to say, do I want to be with this guy or not? I put my cards on the table. Right. And so now I'm like, I'm all in. So what you got? Yeah. And so I think having that mentality is a key. So, being transparent about who you are really helps out the situation. It saves you a lot of heartbreak, a lot of time. Communicating early and often is also key, even about the little stuff, like you down to her Taco Bell order. Like be open to that. And then two, just take advantage of the time, because once y'all leave, it's not going to be the same anymore, bro. It's just not going to be the same. It's a very unique opportunity. So I would say take advantage of that college time and utilize it for sure. Oh. That's like my thesis on that.
1,000%. I think analyzing your situation and now thinking about kind of where we're going with the work from home,
exactly,
and how much harder it is to like meet people. You have to be extremely intentional. To meet people,
even from the friendship perspective.
20,
we were talking about that.
Exactly. So
the intentionality behind it all.
To have something like college where it's like that social aspect is baked in. I think maybe the young fellas should, maybe be a little more intentional.
We're not telling y'all to get married, but just
but like if you see a potential, maybe grow somebody with somebody.
Take advantage of that.
You know what I'm saying?
And when you're growing with somebody, you're also growing yourself too. Like use college as a developmental
Try that out.
building block.
For sure.
Try, like, yeah, y'all been doing the thing for 6 months. Like, at a point, you gonna get that, what are we? And then two, as a guy, I'm like, okay, like, what am I doing? Like, am I wasting my time doing this? Is this just because it feels good? Like, what is that? So there's a couple of different things, but I think that also leads us to our next segment that everybody loves is these ADAs that we got. These Reddit stories that y'all love so much. So I got 2 for us.
Okay.
I feel like both of them are very good. And they're getting some buzz around them. So
I seen these. We got these in the text.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll let you take it away, brother.
This first one?
Either one. Whatever you think. They're good.
All right, I'm gonna take this first one.
Bet.
All right.
I told you.
All right. I'm just reading. I gotta read it to you. My fault. All right. Am I the asshole for calling out my brother's fiance for flirting with my husband?
Ooh.
I, 28-year-old female, am married to James, 30-year-old male, for 3 years now. After about a year of dating, my brother Ryan, 31-year-old male, is recently engaged to Jessica, 29-year-old female. She has always been an extrovert, the life of the party type, until recently when her behavior crossed the line. It started a few months ago. Jessica kept making little comments about James at a family barbecue. She joked about how hot he was for a married guy and that Ryan should start working out to keep up. It made me uncomfortable, but I laughed it off at the time. Being polite, James just smiled and didn't answer. A week later, James showed me a text Jessica sent him by mistake.
She
can't stop thinking about last night, winky face. When James asked her what she meant, she said, oops, wrong person, and said it was for Ryan. I was uneasy, but told myself I was overthinking it. But things escalated. Suddenly, Jessica was texting James all the time, asking for advice about her relationship with Ryan and what outfit to wear to family events. They weren't outright flirty, but they felt off, like she was fishing for attention. Take, for instance, that she once sent him a picture of herself in a dress and asked, do you think Ryan would like this? Be honest. I felt sick when I found out, but James didn't respond. Last weekend at Ryan and Jessica's engagement party was the final straw. I saw Jessica talking to James in private. I heard her say as I walked over, you know, if things were different, we'd make a great couple.
Oh.
James shut her down immediately. James shut her down immediately and told her she was being inappropriate.
James is that guy.
Later, I confronted her and she laughed it off, saying, relax, it's just a joke. You're being insecure. I told Ryan what happened, but Jessica twisted things, so I was the bad guy. She said I was jealous of her and trying to sabotage their relationship. Ryan is now mad at me for ruining their engagement. My parents are pressuring me to apologize just to keep the peace.
What?
Meanwhile, James is feeling terrible about the whole thing and says he did nothing wrong. So, am I the asshole for calling her out, or should I have let it go to avoid family drama?
Man, I told you that one was heat.
That was crazy.
That was heat.
Jessica
is going crazy.
Jessica
is going crazy.
I was about to say something crazy about Jessica. I'm trying to keep it tight. Damn, Jessica.
Yeah.
You need to get up off James. He don't want you, baby.
For real.
But it's crazy because Jessica the type of woman that she like that she can't get James.
Exactly.
Like she like
I
that
smelled
James
the
ain't giving her no play. She like, oh, nah, I really gotta get him.
exactly. Because I can have whatever I want. And she
know what
going
I'm
after
saying?
James. James just trying to not sleep on the couch and do his thing like he's supposed to.
Initially, first thing that comes to mind, right? Clearly, you are not the asshole. You setting boundaries, and Jessica is
not
crossing boundaries. That's clear. You're not the asshole. Secondly, I'm curious what your family dynamic is.
Right.
Because say I was in a situation like that, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have a sister. So I'm Ryan. And my, engagement party. So my fiance wilding with my sister man.
Exactly.
And my sister come to me and say, hey, your fiance tripping, bro. You like, look,
Check
I'm trying
that.
to let you know.
Yeah.
Me and my sis got such a relationship. And I trust her, like, she's so not the one to play with. If she come to me and say something, it's law.
Exactly.
And she's a lawyer. So it makes sense that, you know what I'm saying? But that's our dynamic. I'm very curious, what's your situation that your parents telling you to apologize and your older brother not rocking with you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
That's where my head immediately goes. Like, that's a little
Where's
off
the
to me.
support at for your sibling?
My sister, if she came to me, I'd have been like, oh, nah.
Yeah, especially because ideally as siblings, like, we're not in competition with one another.
Exactly.
Like, I have nothing to gain.
There's no
from this
ulterior
scenario.
motive.
Exactly.
I can really trust sis.
So I'm gonna keep it a beam.
So
with
I'm
you,
like, Ryan, why ain't you locked in with your sister enough to when she tell you that Jessica tripping, or is Jessica just that manipulative that she got you?
Could be. But you should at least, even if you are, because I understand being down for your partner too. If y'all are like getting that unit phase, that's something you got to consider. That's going to be my wife. However, I don't agree with not giving your sister a fair chance, fair shake. Like, you should always, a wise man always accepts good counsel. And so even having that 5-10 minute conversation will give me perspective on a situation that I can then bring up to my partner, have a dialogue about, and say, yo, we need to hash this out. Because I know I have love for my sister. She's not just going to tell me this for no reason. Nothing is arbitrary. And so, I think that was crazy. But to see how quickly she crossed that line, it's very rare that we get a Ada where it's like that boundary is crossed that quick. You weren't even a minute in and she already texted dude and
sending pictures. Exactly. Do you think Ryan would like this? Everything like that. Those are boundaries.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing and knew how to spin it and stay. I'm neutrally being an asshole, essentially.
And I think as somebody, you know what I'm saying, who has female friends and different things like that, like you know what I'm saying? It's very clear boundaries, and I never had nothing wild like that.
Yeah.
That was OD.
And so you got to be able to do that, and check your guys, check your homies, ladies, check your girlfriends. Like, y'all know what's up, and when conversations need to be had. Not in this regard, but also when, like we said, you just off base. Like, Jessica needs some accountability too in the situation. Like, where's your support group and who are you running with? Yeah, because that's when you start doing stuff like that, you don't keep that to yourself.
The other thing I would say is on some like corporate stuff, right? You know, you got to establish that track record.
Yeah.
So, you know, if Ryan and parents aren't on your side, hopefully you could read the room and know what type of family, like what type of people you're dealing with. Right. And then if I'm like, hey, mom, I just want to let you know that, you know what I'm saying, Jessica texting James, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should bring it to Ryan, but I needed to tell somebody.
Exactly.
And now we have a filing.
Exactly.
Cabinet, right? We have a file folder. Right?
You don't
so
want
then when we get to the engagement party and I blow the spot up, I don't look crazy because I got the whole... You know what I'm saying? I got it's all laid out.
Yeah.
You know, I painted the picture.
Exactly.
Whereas when it's kind of shock and awe, you might lose some people that way.
I agree, man. So that's a good one. Yeah. So is she the one? I would say James is definitely the one.
Oh, James is solid.
A trooper. Shout out to James.
James is solid.
James is solid. I would say James is the one for sure.
Yeah.
Mine is a little bit different. Speaking of like college and, you know, and just kind of like not getting that serious. This one is, let's see. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my girlfriend rent? So, 28 male, moved in with my girlfriend, 23 female, 3 months ago. We've been together for 7 months. It'll be 8 just after Christmas. We moved in together so quickly because my lease was ending and we knew we didn't want to wait a whole year to move in together. Before moving in, she told me my share was $400 a month plus half the utilities and half the groceries. To make it clear, he's moving in with her, which I happily paid, but we've already had several arguments along the way. I don't know what the total of her mortgage is, but it was a slum before she did reno. Oh, she's she said, I don't know what the total of her mortgage is, but it was a slum before she did renovations. So I imagine it was pretty cheap. Firstly, she was upset with me for not doing chores. I don't see the problem with the house getting a little messy, but she told me to help out or pay an extra $100 a month to cover her time of quote unquote playing maid. I paid the extra $100 and that was that. Though I find it ridiculous that she expects the place to be clean all the time and I could have put that money to use in many better ways. It's not like I'm a slob and she doesn't like, but she doesn't like dishes left in the sink. She expects them to be immediately washed or cleaned or put up in the dishwasher. She wants things cleaned as they're happening, so it feels like there's no relaxing. Then I wanted to get a dog. My girlfriend already has a dog of her own, but one of the small breeds. He's 14, so he's not very playful or energetic. He's just a boring guy. I found a puppy I fell in love with, and she was a purebred English Mastiff and gorgeous. I told my girlfriend, and she flat out said no, that she didn't want another dog in the house bothering hers, and she definitely didn't want a puppy to ruin her newly remodeled house. I thought a nice compromise would be a cat. And she claimed she's allergic, but there's never been any mention of allergies before. They got all types of problems. So there's yet another thing I get no say in. It's not like her dog is going to be around much longer. We could just keep the puppy separate from him until then. I'm sure after her dog passes, she would find another excuse not to let me get a dog. Finally, I found out that she owns the house. I had been under the impression that she was renting, but she is instead paying a mortgage. I discovered this when I was checking the mail and found a reminder from her bank. When I confronted her, she claimed she thought I knew because we were together and she was remodeling. I told her it was ridiculous for me to pay her rent when it's her house. And this led to a long, heated argument. I asked to be put on the title since I was helping her pay for it, and she snickered and told me no. I told her I wouldn't be paying anymore. She asked if I wanted to help with packing and or if I could handle it myself. I asked her what she meant, and she said, I can help pay or I can find somewhere else to live. I asked if our relationship was over, and she said we could continue to pursue it without living together. Naturally, I flipped out because if we can't live together, then we have no future together. She doesn't seem to care in the slightest and told me she expects me out by the end of the week. She locks me out of our bedroom, so I'm stuck on the couch. She sits boxes and bags with my belongings in the hall every so often. When I called my mom, she told me I was being ridiculous and a brat, but I feel like that might be because she doesn't want me to move back home with the lease I have at my apartment, or his lease is up. And so he needs some outside perspective. As of now, the relationship has ended and his belongings are outside, but he's staying in a motel. I'm open to trying to recover our relationship, but I need some advice. Am I the asshole? That was a lot, y'all.
That was crazy.
Even reading it, I'm like experiencing it with y'all.
That one, compared to some of the other ones, was not as black and white as some of the other ones. But I will say, hearing that, one of the first things that came to mind was, this nigga is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just giving it a beat.
You crazy for that, bro.
That came to my mind.
Yeah.
And so,
y'all gotta clean, man. Like, that's like numero uno.
When he asks... Bro said, I can't believe you got me paying rent.
Exactly.
Put
When
me
you
on
own the house. When you own the house.
I said, nigga, you crazy.
Over $400.
He said, put me on the title.
Which
For
is
why?
crazy. Which is crazy. Because in my situation, bro, I'm just a very self-aware person. And being self-aware means being aware of leverage you have. Your lease is ending. You're moving into somebody else's crib. And so with that, you got to be aware, even if you're not, especially for guys that aren't like attributing or contributing financially, you got to be doing some other shit, bro. Like as a man, you can't just sit there and be on the couch not looking for a job, not cleaning up, bro. That's like the biggest way to get your head blown off. Not cleaning up, especially if you at home all day. And even I clean up. I do the dishes, like I do the bed, but I work from the crib. Now, mind you, it may take place an hour before she pulls up, but just know that I'm going to be making sure that when she gets through, it's presentable. And that's not like a beta male thing, because it's just like, I recognize that I'm at home and she's out working. And sometimes like her shifts is crazy. Sometimes like up until this point, they're doing a 9 to 5 and then a 5 to 9.
Yeah.
Literally coming in at 9 o'clock. And so for me, not even as a man, but as a person that has been raised right, I can't sit on my ass and just be like this when she come home and there's dishes in the sink and it's 9 o'clock and I'm saying, what's to eat? like she gonna kill me.
Right.
And so for this dude to have no leverage coming into the situation and then wanting ownership without doing shit is crazy. And in fact, the slap in the face was paying the extra $500. Yeah, you are the maid. That was another indication of like, yeah, he's not the one, bro.
That was just that was crazy. Like I said, a little more less black and white than some of the other ones.
But still, bro.
That boy wildin'. And like to your point, let's take like the dating, romance out of it. You know what I'm saying? Living out like, my pops come home from work and all the cars are I moved all the cars, so they in a driveway, so he can't get his car into the garage.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, my pops just got up at like 4 a.m. to get to work at this. He been doing all this all day. Boom, he get home and then now he gotta move all the cars, grab the mail, take out the trash, do. You know what I'm saying? Just being a considerate person.
That's what we were talking about last episode.
Consideration,
bro.
These dudes don't have no consideration.
Nah, man.
You know what I'm saying? They really do not be putting their shoes in other people. I'm like, damn, if I woke up at 4 a.m, drove an hour and a half in traffic to get to work a 9, then drove an hour and a half to get back home, and then now I can't just park my car and get in the crib. I'm like, ooh, I finally make it home. I can't park my car and get in the crib. I gotta move 8 cars, do this, do that. You know what I'm saying? So we leave a spot open in the driveway so he can do what he gotta do, or whatever it is, right? So his just lack of consideration for what she got going on is crazy. I think to feel entitled to ownership of the crib. Oh, well, you and I are dated, so what that got to do with?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You being entitled was crazy. The fact that he was so enthralled that he paying rent
$400.
$400. You know what I'm saying?
Plus the maid fee.
He not on a title. And not married to my understanding. I ain't hear no ring
boyfriend, girlfriend.
Or no nothing like
boyfriend, girlfriend.
Boy, you
ain't no way. Ain't no way, bro.
Hey, the cheek on that guy.
Especially, bro. Like, and I know we talk like the whole gender role thing and guys, if that's your thing, cool. But even as a man, like if that's your role, in my mind, you have to earn that
for sure.
House in order.
For sure.
Because that means if you're asking for her to fulfill her duties and responsibilities, you better damn sure make sure she ain't got a thing to worry about and should be able to provide all the resources to do that. If you subscribe to that, you have to be doing your share.
For sure. And so for them to be having issues.
Right.
And then he find, they was having issues.
Yeah.
Then he find out, oh, this actually her crib.
Yeah.
She got this a mortgage.
Yeah.
We not leasing, like, this not
exactly. You
and
cannot.
And she was like, well, duh, didn't you just see me knock all the walls out and renovate the whole thing? I thought you knew. So one, they have a communication issue.
For sure.
First and foremost. Yeah. That was so evident.
That's integral.
But I guess maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say they didn't have a conversation with the context of her saying, I thought you knew.
Yeah.
Instead of I told you.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm gonna say they just didn't have the conversation.
Communication issue.
So one, boop, communication issue.
Right.
Not just with that, but with so many other things. But two, to be having issues, then find out she owned the crib, and then to just disregard all the issues and be like, oh, I should be on the title. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Like, in my opinion, you cannot.
And your lease just ran up, and you know what I'm saying?
And you coming in my situation.
You throwing a 400, and you know what I'm saying? I really take issue with that for sure.
Yeah.
Especially in a dating situation. You know what I'm saying? She leveraged her credit to, like, there's so much more. But that's
awareness and consideration. That's what he's lacking, bro.
And that's what he's lacking. Awareness and consideration, which is crazy.
But to make that
clear, but on top of that, to your point, his ass just a dumbass. Now he's in a motel with his shit outside.
Exactly.
So let's throw, we could throw all this out the window just in terms of a survival mode.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be trapped on no island with that fool because he don't know how to survive.
He don't know how to survive at all.
He don't know how to survive at all.
Yeah,
my brother not gonna make it. You better wash some dishes.
Exactly. Right. Here's the thing.
You better do some dishes.
Yes. Earn your keep, bro. Like, if you move it. Let me make this very clear, abundantly. You cannot be a grown-ass man on a woman's couch and expect her to come home and cook and clean for your ass. I'm going to just keep it a bean. You cannot do that just because I'm a man. Because at the end of the day, if you're subscribing to those gender roles, she doing your damn job.
Yeah.
And you coming home and then you going to ask what's to eat? Nah, bro. When you been looking in the fridge and knowing is stuff to make, and what we gonna eat? I'll just wait. That's a child.
And I'm gonna switch.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna switch up the tone a little bit because we got on bro. I think we got on bro.
We got on bro.
So we got on bro. So it's fine. I am gonna be that one. I'm gonna flip that switch.
We got to
hear her from his recollection say, oh, we can still continue this relationship once you move out. Da 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 da. We ignoring way too many. This dude is garbage.
Exactly.
Trash. Basura.
Exactly.
He need to work on himself.
Yeah, he does.
Baby, you got your own crib. You doing this, that, and the third. Go.
Why are you settling for it?
Why is there still a conversation that could be had when he moves out and we don't? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I don't really I'm not a big fan of that. I think she should have just deaded that.
Well, yeah, but I think sometimes it's like an ego thing for women too. Like, I feel like, and guys, like, when you keeping somebody around just to have them around.
Yeah.
And I feel like for her, that was one of those things. Because to your point, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
She's not being smart enough in the sense where she's not looking at what she's learning from it. Like, okay, this dude isn't doing what he needs to do. Instead, that paying thing has got me because it wasn't the fact that he paid for it. It was the fact that he would rather, I don't want to contribute so much that I'm going to pay you
to clean.
To clean
crazy.
up. Is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so
I'm just like, what is he providing? What hole is he filling?
Exactly.
Like, what is he? Pause.
Yeah, I was gonna say he may be doing just that. Yeah, man. He may be an expert in some other skills.
Hey, man.
He may be
you can move out,
but we can keep it. Exactly.
Hey.
So yeah, that's
more
probably
power to you. See, now I got respect for bro. I got a whole different.
He know how he moving, but see, that's what happens. Another thing, guys, don't over leverage. That's called over leveraging your skills.
I ain't gonna wash the dish, but I'll put you through the mattress.
But I'm gonna go to work.
Oh,
so he's going to work in he gotta have been going to work in other ways.
It's not worth it.
But ladies, you gotta recognize that. You gotta recognize that when
shit.
You got a lump on your couch gets a tumor. Like, you gotta get that. You gotta remove that.
That was funny.
But yeah, man, to sum it all up, bro, I think, yeah, having the one, we talked about a couple different things, man, but the main thing, like we always tell y'all, is just being aware of the situations and scenarios you're in, being intentional and considerate about it, and then recognizing when you're in those environments where it's there, like, he going crazy. In those environments where, like college, for instance, if you know you can grow as a person, use those opportunities for growth. Utilize those opportunities for growth, man.
Yeah,
But I think
utilize those opportunities.
We can sum it up because I know we're having a heart attack over here. But we love y'all, man. We appreciate y'all. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace.